We have some pretty relevant updates in the open source and research spaces this week. First up, Microsoft has released Phi-2 to the public. Phi-2 is a 2.7 billion parameter small language model. They've coined as an SLM that demonstrates pretty remarkable performance and reasoning and language understanding for its model size. What's interesting here is that this is best in class in the less than 13 billion parameter area at only 2.7 billion parameters. This model, by the way, I've tested out myself on my own machine. You only need 12.5 gigabytes of GPU memory to run it in float 32 and 6.7 gigabytes to run in float 16. The keys to success, they're saying, are really high quality training data, and they say innovative scaling techniques. And as we've seen in the past, this is focused on textbook quality data and synthetic data sets, all for common sense reasoning, general knowledge. And this model was trained on 1.4 trillion tokens over 14 days using 96 A100 GPUs. They did not fine tune this model for toxicity or bias, and yet it exhibits better behavior in these areas compared to similar models. This is likely due to the quality of the data that they're training on, because if you're training on textbook quality data, the sources, this data are synthetic from really intelligent models or directly from literally sources like books. You're unlikely to get much, if any, toxic or biased behavior from these kinds of texts. So ideally, it's just not learning these sorts of things. So in performance benchmarks, Phi-2 basically beats the competition. So it outperforms Llama 2, the smallest version, in 13 billion parameter version, as well as Mistral 7 billion parameter. By being much smaller, it outperforms these other models, which is really cool. You can download this yourself. You can run this on your laptop. Even if you have enough laptop memory, it's useful. It's the first model that I've been able to test out and I've been really pleased with. I find it to be much more performant than Llama. Mistral released a new model as well this week, which is funny timing. This is called Mixtral of experts. So it would have been rough for Mistral AI to have Phi-2 released and beat basically their flagship open source model, which is, this is small and it works well. Phi-2 does beat Mistral 7B, but now Mistral has another model offered, which is called Mixtral 8x7, which is a mixture of experts model. A mixture of experts is what the general public believes GPT-4 to be made up of. GPT-4 is likely a mixture of 16-ish experts. Experts are individual models specializing in specific domain areas. Mistral has trained 8, likely the existing architecture or something similar to it, the Mistral 7B architecture. They've trained 8 of those models and they've combined them as a mixture of experts, and they've gotten some really significant performance boosts, notably in mathematics, in the coding spaces. This is a much higher parameter model to run, but at least they're segmented into individual experts. It's more computationally efficient than a 56 billion parameter model, but it's still not nearly as efficient as something like Phi-2, which is reasonably competitive with the performance of Mixtral. Mixtral does exceed it in several benchmarks. We have the first paper from OpenAI Superalignment, which I read. And it's an interesting paper. It's a very high level paper. And the concept that's being tackled here is how weak supervisors can trust and control substantially larger models. And this is sort of like a planning for the feature paper, as the goal of superalignment is to figure out how to align models to human interest. And as models become super intelligent, as they become more intelligent than us, the question is, when something is more complicated than we can possibly understand, how can we be sure that we are actually aligning this model to our interests? They provide a nice graphic showing how historically a human is teaching a machine with a lower level of intelligence, right? The feature that we're probably going to see is a human teaching a machine at a higher level intelligence, or it's a good comparative metric. What they're testing here is using a less powerful machine to steer a more powerful machine, to use the less powerful machine as the supervisor. So in this case, they train GPT-4 using GPT-2 as a weak supervisor. The idea is, right, that like people can train a model that is less intelligent than them, and they can be more sure that it's aligned to their interest because it is less intelligent. And then if you're able to take that model, use that to align more intelligent model, that may be a scalable approach to aligning hyper intelligent models by sort of chaining together less intelligent models that we understand. And the results are that it kind of works. The primary finding is that it is feasible to substantially improve weak to strong generalization, but it's not particularly potent. Or LHF may not be an effective method for aligning super intelligent models. But while this is not super reassuring news and a little bit scary, I think it's important to focus on the right side here, which is that this research is being done at all. And now that this paper is out, people can start to explore the next questions, which are how the heck can we improve this weak to strong generalization so that we'll be able to align hyper intelligent models in the future. Next, we have a blog post from DeepMind. They're introducing FunSearch, which stands for function search, which is a method using large language models for discovering solutions in mathematics and in computer science. So FunSearch is a combination of models. It starts with a pre-trained LLM for generating creative solutions to problems, to these computer science and mathematics problems, with an automated evaluator to filter out ideas that are incorrect or bad. Quick news from Google Imagen 2. I don't really know what to say other than the images look good. If you happen to exist in the GCP world, you'll probably be satisfied with this. Available for API use. And of course, it's going to be integrated with the whole Google suite of generative AI tools. That's all for this week. Hope you all enjoyed.